Hey y'all, this is the Flipflop Experience Podcast. I'm your host, Leah Thrapp, an entrepreneur who turned my love of travel into a career. Travel is not just a hobby, it's a way of life. Making it happen can be tough. I'm here to offer practical advice to make travel more achievable. This isn't just about my journey, it's about inspiring you to pursue adventure and explore the world on your terms. Hello, and welcome to the Flipflop Experience Podcast. I'm your host, Leah Thrapp, and I'm here in the studio with my guest, Misti Pratt. Welcome, Misti.
Hi, Leah. Thanks for having me.
I am so excited you're here, and I can't wait to chat about all the adventures we've had together.
Me too. We've had a lot, and it's been amazing.
I know. We did a count recently of how many countries we've been to, and I can't remember what it was, but we've covered a lot of ground in Europe together.
Yes, I think Austria,
Italy,
Germany,
Ireland, Slovenia. So yeah, we've managed to do a lot of adventures in the few years we've known each other.
Yep, they've been wonderful.
But I think the way we got started adventuring together is a great story. So you signed up to go on your first solo trip with me in Austria. So tell us how that started.
Well, I'd been following you on your Facebook page, and I was like, you know what? I kind of want to go. And it was on my bucket list to do a trip by myself. But I didn't really want to be completely by myself. So I liked that I was going with nobody I knew, but with a group. And you posted that you had a last minute opening for this Austria Alps and Adventures. And I was like, I'm going to go. I checked the dates. They worked. So I sent you an email, signed up, bought my flight. And then I was really excited. And then I think like a couple months before the trip, you posted a Facebook group with all the people going. And you said, introduce yourself. Like, post a picture of you. So I posted a picture of me. I'm holding 2 drinks. Like, I'm so excited to hang out, have some drinks with everyone. And it was like crickets in the group. Like, nobody responded. Well, Leah liked it, but nobody else like said anything. Then I start looking at the profile pictures of everybody going on the trip, and it has a horse in the profile picture. I'm like, this is weird. Everybody, maybe it's because they're from Texas and I'm the only one not from Texas.
It's all cowgirls.
Yeah, I was like, so then I went back and actually read the trip itinerary.
It's a good thing to do before a trip.
Yeah. It would be. And I realized it's all about horses.
Yes.
But I didn't like know what the Spanish riding school was. I just was excited to go somewhere new, not be alone, but be by myself. I'm extremely allergic to horses. I have Benadryl and EpiPens for it. So I'm like, let me call Leah.
Yes. Well, that was so funny. You called me and said, I have a confession to make. And I was like, okay. And you said, I'm really allergic to horses. And I was like, so confused. I said, okay. Because I was trying to understand how we got into this situation. I was like, so what's the plan? Like, what do you want to do? And you're like, I promise I can entertain myself. Like, don't worry. You didn't tell me until later that you hadn't read it. I thought you just like, were like, oh, I'll just figure it out, you know? And so it was so hilarious when you told me on the trip, you're like, I actually didn't read it and I didn't know.
Yes.
But it was so funny because, yeah, all the girls, it was very horse-centered. It was actually with the National Lipizzaner Foundation, the Rescue Foundation. They'd asked me to do a trip. And it was a lot of horse stuff, but there was a whole lot of other non-horse stuff too. But whenever we could, we incorporated horses because most of the people going were super horse people. And so we were going to the Spanish riding school, which if you don't know is actually in Vienna, Austria. It's not in Spain. And they have the famous Lipizzaner horses there that do really cool tricks that they learned for battle, and it became like a status symbol later. But they perform with like classical music in this beautiful like arena. We went to the stud farm where the babies are born, and we took horse and carriage rides in Salzburg. So anytime we could throw in horse stuff, we did. And so it was hilarious that you had to find something to do every time. But the girls on that trip were so sweet. And they would get baby wipes before we got on the bus and say, hey, Misti's allergic. Everybody clean off. They try to like lint roll their horse hair. And
I felt like a princess. That was so kind of them. But I didn't expect them to do that. But they were so thoughtful.
They were.
And they just didn't understand that I was still having fun.
Yeah, they were worried about you.
Yeah, because this is their life's passion. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm just here to hang out. But it was an amazing trip. I met wonderful people, and everyone was just so kind. And Austria is beautiful.
Yes, gorgeous.
So I was excited for the Sound of Music stuff, too, in Austria.
Yes, I love that. That doesn't get old. No matter how many times I do the Sound of Music things, I don't get tired of it. No. I need to do like a people who love musicals trip. We need to like wear outfits and go sing.
That would be so fun.
That would be so fun, right? We can wear curtain dresses and sing songs in Salzburg. But what was so besides the horse things that you had to entertain yourself, what was your favorite thing about the trip or that you did on that trip?
Honestly, my favorite part was meeting the people. I think when you travel and you meet people who like to travel, it's really inspiring. I met you and one of the couple on the trip, she had just had a knee replacement, I think, and I watched how you made accommodations for her. And it just really, I don't know, it really inspired me and I had so much fun. And I met friends I still keep in contact with.
Yeah.
So.
And we've all gone on to take trips together again. Which I always say that's one of my favorite things about what I do. Like, it's really rewarding to me to see those connections be made and see people bond over their love of travel. And I say it's like grown-up summer camp all the time because I think you show up, some more than others, not realizing what's going to happen that week or being unsure of what you're going to experience. But then when you make amazing memories together with people, I feel like you're just bonded forever. Like, you just have this warm, fuzzy connection when you think about them because you did something so amazing together and you shared that experience with only those people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was the people always make every trip.
Yeah, it's really fun. And whenever I start to see people like really mixing and mingling and not just sticking to who they came with, I always feel like I'm succeeding at my mission of connecting these people in such a great way.
Yeah.
And I think a surprise for all of us on that trip was Slovenia.
Oh my goodness, Slovenia was beautiful. We went to Lake Bled.
Yes.
And I wasn't very familiar at all, to be honest. And we show up and you get out and it's just the most beautiful place. It's so serene. The water is clear. It's like a movie.
Yeah.
It's so stunning. And it was so quiet and peaceful too.
Yeah.
So we went and they had a pool that was heated, but it was outside. So it was kind of cold outside. And like just taking those pictures, it's like, It was so memorable, like just to be out there in the warm pool with the steam rising and a beautiful mountain in the background.
And the lake too. Yeah, that was so cool. And they had a water slide in like the basement. It was like a thermal pool with mineral water with a water slide. And I was like, I don't even know what can be more fun than this. Plus the pool is like indoor, outdoor. But I think that Lake Bled is like a sleeper place that people are missing out on because I don't even know if I knew that was a real place. There's a couple of places I've been in the last couple of years that I had seen on screensavers and postcard type things that I never even knew was a place that you could go. And I think Lake Bled was one of them when you see that like lake surrounded by Alps and there's that castle on the rim and then there's this tiny little church on an island in the middle and it's beautiful, but it looks surreal. Like I honestly never thought, oh, I should go there. Is that somewhere I could go? Until I went the first time and I was like, oh my gosh, like you got to pinch yourself to think, is this real? This is amazing. And most people, I don't think even know that that's a place, that they can go.
You were saying on a screensaver or something. So now when I go home, when my TV goes to sleep, it'll post pictures of places and Lake Bled popped up. I was like, I've been there.
That's awesome. The Rock restaurant in Zanzibar is the same way. Oh. It was somewhere that I'd seen pictures of. But I thought it was literally like AI generated or something. I guess before AI, I thought it was just some computer and generated image where there's this tiny restaurant on a rock surrounded by water. And when I went to Zanzibar and I was setting up my scouting trip, they said, oh, you can go eat at the Rock. And I was like, what's the Rock? And they were like, that restaurant. And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. She sent me a picture. I was like, oh, that's a real place? Well, yeah, sign me up. I want to go there. But it never occurred to me that I even would. So I think those are awesome memories when you get to go see somewhere that like beyond your dreams.
Yes.
So after Austria, you went on to go with me to Ireland.
Yes.
And you brought friends this time. You didn't come solo.
I did not go solo. I brought 3 friends with me that time. And 2 of my friends are probably a little more physically fit and they would always like walk ahead. And me and one of my friends, we were kind of the slow ones. We just kind of meander behind the rest of them. And we had the best time. Ireland is so beautiful. But we stopped at this place and there was a tour guide with us and she's European and she was like, it's just going to be a little short walk to get ice cream.
Famous last words.
Yeah, famous. So she's like, it's just like a 5, 10, 15, 20-minute walk, something like that. And it's beautiful. And we started walking and it was the most beautiful waters, mountains too. And we're like, this is really pretty. But I'm like, I don't see anything for as far as I can see. I thought, no big deal. So we kept walking. I think like a half hour into it, we were like, are we being tricked? Is this fat camp? Like, hey, if you walk, you'll get ice cream over here. We kept walking, and finally we saw cows.
Yes.
And we were like, maybe we're going to milk the cows to make our ice cream. So my friend that I was walking with, we decided it was a joke because we still, as far as we can see, we can't see this ice cream shop. So we take a picture of us eating our imaginary ice cream cones.
Yeah, it's an iconic pic now.
Yeah.
That was so funny.
Yeah. There was a lot of walking in Ireland, and it was all beautiful. But I always felt like it's like a little carrot dangled in front of us. Like, Europeans, they think, 5 miles
Everything's
is walkable.
a 5-minute walk. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, not that big into walking, I guess, that much. We just walked and walked. But we did that at the sheep farm, too. Do you remember that?
Yes. That was a more challenging walk. That was like a hilly walk.
Yeah.
I honestly felt like on that ice cream walk, I still give Emily a hard time about it. She's my partner in that part of Europe, and she and I wish there was a video camera because it felt like a behind the scenes documentary of like what really happens on these trips, because we got out at the stop where the bus driver said like, okay, here's the ice cream walk. And there was little, like those park maps that are like, on a piece of wood, and it showed like you are here and this is how far it is to the point, which the Finisterre point was where the ice cream place was. And so she's showing me and she's like, look, it's like a 15-minute walk. And I was like, this is a bus full of Americans. Like, this is not a 15-minute walk. If I can't see it from where I'm standing, zero chance we're making it in 15 minutes, which it would have been fine, except we're on a tight schedule that day. And so I was like, I just don't think that we're going to make it there, eat ice cream and get back and still make it to our next activity on time. And she's like, no, it's fine. Famous last words, it was not fine. So we get there, we get halfway there, and like people are starting to question whether we lied to them, if there's really an ice cream shop anywhere. We're still walking in, but it was an amazing walk and everybody loved it. The kids were like picking wildflowers, and we were on the seaside and there was cows. So like nobody was sad about it, but I was just looking at the time thinking like, I have no idea how this is going to be possible, And so the reason that they said we had to walk is that there was nowhere for the bus to turn around. So like it was a pretty wide paved path, but they said it was like a single lane. So they're like, there's no way if the bus takes us that we'll be able to get out. So then we get to the end. We finally get to the ice cream shop, and the ice cream shop has a giant paved parking lot, like a huge parking lot that holds buses. And I was like, oh my gosh, all along there was space. And so I called the bus driver and I was like, come down here so you can at least drive us back, because we can enjoy the walk one way, but we need to go, And a couple of the people, the same couple you were mentioning, she'd had a knee replacement and they decided it was too far. So I told the bus driver, pick them up on your way. In the meantime, they decided it was too far and turned around to go back to the bus.
Oh, no.
And so then the bus passes them, and I can see it, but it's like really far down the road. Like they can't hear me yelling. I'm like calling. They're not answering the phone. And so the bus driver, I get him, and I'm like, you just passed him. You have to get him. And so he has to put the bus in reverse and like go back, like beep, beep, like down the lane, pick him up and come down there. We ate our ice cream. And then he drove us back down the road, and then we were back on schedule. But the conversations we had, like standing outside the bus, I'm sure it was like very animated looking if you were inside the bus, because we were having this whole argument on the side of the road. And I was like, there is no way. So we got there, and I was like, for the record, that was 45 minutes one way.
Yeah. At least 45.
Yeah, solid,
we weren't
solid.
walking fast.
No,
and
we weren't in a hurry.
Most beautiful. It was one of my favorite days.
Yes.
Actually, it was just, we were just being funny about it. We were like,
Yeah.
There's ice cream. Come this way.
We actually call those things in Europe, and is it in Italy 5 minutes or a real 5 minutes? Because in Italy, everyone will swear up and down that it's 5 minutes, like literal 5 minutes. And so there's been so many times that I was, when we first started traveling, and we'd say, hey, can you call us a taxi to the train station? And they'd say, oh, you don't need a taxi. It's a 5-minute walk. We're like, yeah, but we have our luggage and we have a baby. So like, could you just get a taxi? They're like, no, it's 5 minutes. Seriously, 5 minutes. And I was like, but it's like a clock, like a literal 5 minutes. And they'd say, yeah. It's super, super close. And you'd walk, and like, we would be speed walking, like passing the locals, and it would still take us 15 or 20 minutes walking. And so I was like, I don't know what this measurement that you people are using. It's not the same measurement that we use for 5 minutes. So when Emily was here in Texas, she came to visit last year, and we were at our friend's farm. We were going out to lunch, and they told us it was a 5-minute drive. And so when we finally got there, like 20 minutes later to the restaurant, she said, For the record, your Texas 5-minute drives are also not accurate. And I was like, okay, that's fair.
Touche.
It is just the next place that you could go from here driving. So we say it's 5 minutes, but it's not. So yeah, but then we did the sheep farm walk, and that one was windy and hilly, but it was also amazing.
Some of the best pictures, most beautiful scenery. But I think you prepared us for that one. You told us it was like, was it a mile?
Yeah, it was probably
something.
like a mile. That one was funny too, because we booked that sheep farm, and this was like not really a tourist place. It was legit like just this farmer, and he said that like the tourism was the only thing that was going to help him make it through the season to stay in business. And so we wanted to support him, and his place was really cute from everything he told us. And so we had this big bus because we had like 30 people. It was the biggest group I've ever done. And he literally called us like a few days before the trip. And he said, I think I forgot to tell you something. And we were like, okay. And he said, your bus won't fit down my road. And we were like, I feel like that was an important piece of information you should have shared before 5 days before we get there, you know? And he was like, I'm really sorry. I just all of a sudden remembered that I don't think I ever told you. And I was like, I don't know what we're supposed to do. Like, what can we do? And so we had the same, you know, the lady with the knee replacement, and it was like a long hilly walk. And so he said, I can come with my farm truck and pick people up and run them back and forth. So he did. He came and picked a couple of people up. At one point I put Jilly and her stroller inside there, and she rode back because it was a tough walk pushing uphill in the wind with that stroller. And we took turns, but it was like your arms were above your head sometimes. So it was so funny. But it is true that at the end of that trip, we always talk about what was your favorite thing and what was your favorite memory. And almost universally, those two walks ended up being people's favorites.
Yes, they were amazing.
And the carrot that we dingled for that walk was that you got to give a baby sheep a baby bottle. So it was worth it.
They were cute.
They were so cute. I wasn't prepared for how fast they were going to suck their bottle down. It was over. It was like over too quick. And I was like, I need a second batch of lambs. That was so adorable.
And watching the sheepdog,
Yeah,
like gather all the sheep was incredible. Like I thought, oh, I might not go today. I don't know. And I'm so glad I didn't miss it, because I still think about it, and I tell everyone that goes to Ireland, you got to go and see the sheepdogs and feed the little babies. So
yeah, I kind of felt the same way about the sheepdog demonstration. I didn't really know what to expect or felt super like excited about it. I was just like, I don't know, sheep and a dog in a field. I didn't know it was going to be so amazing. Yeah. But like the training and the relationship that the dog has with its owner, and the way it like can control, 100 sheep, and it was a puppy. Like I think the dog was like 13 months old or something as a puppy, and did it by itself. And it was truly amazing to see how like humans and animals can work together and do something like that. It was really fun. So after Ireland, we did San Miguel de Allende. You went on my first tacos and tequila tour. What did you think about that one?
I loved it. I loved it for a lot of reasons. I was a little nervous to go, just thinking like, oh, Central Mexico, drug cartel, which was totally not true. It's like the safest place you can go. Yeah. And it was absolutely beautiful. The culture was amazing. Everything there was so rich, and the people were so warm and welcoming, and I love San Miguel.
Yeah, I really fell in love with San Miguel too. It had been years of people telling me before I did that tour, they kept saying, well, if you love Europe, you have to go to San Miguel de Allende in Mexico. And I was like, okay, sounds cool, but I just never found the time to make it there. And then when I was in Africa last year, one of the hotel companies called me and said, we're having like a little fam trip. Do you want to come next week? So I was literally in the lounge on my way home from Africa, and I booked tickets to leave in like 4 days. And my husband was like, really? And I said, I have to go. Everybody's been telling me to go, and it's a sign. They invited me. So I went, and it is like such a unique place that's so different than like I think most Americans, especially people like live in Texas, have been to Cancun a million times. But this is very much like they call themselves the corazon of Mexico, so the heart of Mexico. And that's where the revolution started that freed them from the Spanish. And it was like an artist's mecca. So they like have a huge appreciation for food and art. And it looks like you're in a little piece of Europe. There's like a big cathedral, and there's cobblestone streets. And it's so different than I think what people expect when they go to Mexico.
It was completely different than what I expected. And the art scene, they have all these murals painted on the walls, and it was just completely unexpected. And The food was delicious.
Oh my gosh, so much good food.
The tequila was good.
We do a walking tacos and tequila tour on the first day of that tour. And we eat 5 different tacos at 5 different spots. And they're all super different from each other. Some of them are really interesting. But I think about that jicama shrimp taco like on the regular. And I miss it. I didn't think it sounded very good when they told me about it because I thought it was just going to be a taco like regular with shrimp and then jicama in it. But they make the tortilla out of jicama. So it's like cold and crunchy. And then they put fried leeks on top and shrimp and like a chipotle sauce. And it was so delicious. And I think about that one and the street tacos. Because we eat like the oldest street tacos, the al pastor with the pineapple.
Yes.
Like standing in the street. That's the last thing you eat before you are done that night.
Yes. I think about those street tacos to this day.
Yes.
And actually, I went with Leah a second time. She did San Miguel again, and I loved it so much. I was like, I'm going back, especially because it's just like a long weekend. It's nice that it's a little bit shorter trip. And so I was like, I'm going back. And I'm like, but are we getting the street tacos? Because that's really important.
It is very important. I mean, I always have to get an extra street taco of that one when we're there because it's like I need it to hold me over. But it is really fun to be able to do that weekend trip because most of my trips, I think, are kind of like epic bucket list trips. And usually you need like 7 to 10 days off of work and that kind of thing. But a lot of my regulars needed an adventure fix in between big trips. And so they've been asking for a while for me to do like something small and closer. And San Miguel was perfect because from Dallas, it's like a 2.5 hour direct flight. So it's really easy to do for like a long weekend. And it's been really popular since I started doing it. And I'm never sad to take an extra trip back to San Miguel for a weekend.
Oh, no. And if you do it again, I'll be there.
Great. I got to work on next year's calendar and get some more scheduled for San Miguel. I think also San Miguel, another thing that I love about that trip is the hotel really cooperates and collaborates with me. And it's one of the places that I think people that have to start a tour with me think this girl is crazy, the things I come up with. But the thing I invented for that tour was I call it Centers for Grown-Ups. I say it's like kindergarten centers, but for grown-ups. And so I went to the hotel and I said, listen, I want to do, because they're really famous for their handcrafts and they have like an artisan market. There's all these different handcrafts like tin punching and paper mache and all kinds of things they do. And I said, I want to do a rotating centers where we do a mixology class, a cooking lesson, and a craft. And we rotate through all of them twice on the pool deck. And they just kind of blankly looked at me in the meeting like, what? And I said, yeah, it's going to be really fun. And they said, well, no one's ever done that before. And I said, okay, but can you? That's the question. Can you? And they were like, I guess. But it is the funnest day. It's always everybody's favorite day of the trip. We just come to the pool in our swimsuit and we do kindergarten centers and then get in the pool after and it's fun.
At the craft station, I got some paint on my swimsuit cover up and it's like my main swimsuit cover up. So to this day, every time I wear it, I think of that and it's like a happy memory.
I know I have teal paint on my swimsuit cover up from that day too. And I think one of the things about it is the same thing as like the summer camp and the kindergarten things is that you need time to just kind of be a kid sometimes. I think it's so important for grown-ups to take a moment and just like do something silly. So when we were doing the paper mache, it's really important in the culture. They do lots of parades and they use those huge paper mache statues and stuff. And so a lot of people come to that center and they're like, I'm not a painter. I'm not an artist. I don't want to do this. And I'm like, you just make something, do whatever you want. You can pick something small. And usually the people who are like the most reluctant to participate are the ones who get like so absorbed in their craft. They're over there just painting and adding details. And some of the guys who were like, I'm not crafting, they like turned their things into Mexican wrestlers and put capes on them. It was hilarious, but it's strangely relaxing, I think, like to just stop thinking about anything and just focus on like making something silly with paint and paper mache.
Yeah. My husband actually he was kind of like that. He was like, I don't know. And then he got one and his was like the most elaborate when we were done.
Yeah.
And then at the end I was like, do you want to take it home or leave it? And he goes, oh, I'm taking it home. I was like, okay.
Yeah. I think it's so fun to just take those moments and really just stop thinking. Like, I think there's so much time that we're so busy. And even when we're on vacation, you're thinking about like taking a picture or what are we doing or what's coming next. But I really enjoy seeing people just like totally pause and, tune out, and they're just focused on their silly glitter and sequins and capes on their little crafts. So it's really fun. Well, it has been so fun to walk through memory lane together and talk about the adventures we've taken. And I loved having you here, and I can't wait to see what adventures we go on in the future. So thanks for being here.
Thank you, Leah. I've loved it. Thank you for all the good memories you've created.
My pleasure. Happy adventuring. Thanks for being part of the Flipflop Experience. Make sure to subscribe and follow on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Flipflops and Adventures.